Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're in a little new location. We're in the new listening room, and I know it doesn't sound like an ideal listening room just yet, but it's getting there. And I know it's been a long road. We keep talking about our new listening room, and I've been doing everything myself and only working on it when I have time, which means I don't have any time to work on it. So it's come along kind of slowly, but we've got most of the hard work is all done. All the wiring's been done, and we've insulated the crap out of it. It's got this thick OSB board all the way around, and then we've got a second wall in front of that where we'll have all the diffusers and everything built into the wall. Behind me, what you can see is kind of the corner of the room, and we've got some of the deep diffusers at the corners, and then right in the corners we've got some of the compressed rock wool insulation that'll be right in the corner itself. The rest of it will have the smaller diffusers, and on top of that we'll have some like acoustically transparent cloth that goes down the walls so it looks nice and bright and normal. You would know that all the acoustic treatment is built into the walls of this thing. The ceiling has been done, and we had metal I-beams going across the ceiling front to back, and actually going across the room this way front to back. And what we did was we had open cell foam sprayed in about 4 to 5 inches thick just to insulate it. And then on top of that, we sprayed in about 2 inches of closed cell foam to give it a harder surface to make it more like a diffuser. And so the whole ceiling is kind of like this. It's all different, kind of different texture level sprayed on. It looks good, actually. We painted it dark so it doesn't draw attention to itself, and we're going to have track lighting above it, all that stuff. I'm going to do a complete video walkthrough, and I'm going to show you guys this whole room and let you see kind of what we did and what it took to really make a really high-end listening room. So all of that is coming. So glad to be here in the new space, and I will be doing more recordings in this, and it will sound a lot better once we get all the diffusion in, carpet on the floor, and all kinds of crazy things like that. It should become a very quiet room, but for now it may be a little bit echoey, and so just bear with me. I hope it doesn't affect the audio too much. Before I get going too far, I want to say thank you to my buddy over there in Sweden. That customer sent me another cool t-shirt from Sweden commemorating their big bike ride that they have over there, which I think is just awesome. And I love the color. Thank you very much for sending this thing to me. So this next thing, I'm going to do, this whole video is going to be an update on a whole bunch of things that are going on with us right now. And I'm just going to kind of take the highlights and kind of get you guys up to speed, because it's consumed a lot of my time lately, a lot of these new projects, and I'm sorry. I'd like doing a couple of videos a week, and I haven't been able to do that many videos. I've been doing one a week for about the past month, and I will start getting caught up with you guys and get you more content and talk about cool things and upgrades. We're still working on the Eggleston speaker and a SOC audio or SOC sound speaker that just came in for upgrades. There's a whole bunch of cool stuff coming up. So next, diffusers are here. I showed you some of the diffusers back behind me there. We brought in about 10 pallet loads of those things originally, and they all went. They sold, and so I had to get in some more just so I could fill our whole listening room up, and which, by the way, is like 28 feet long by 16 feet wide, so a reasonable sized room for us. And it's going to take up quite a few of those diffusers, but I sold them all. So we've got 10 more pallet loads of these things that just arrived. So if you guys were waiting on diffusers, now's your chance to get them while we've got them in stock. We've even ordered those custom boxes that we can put them in so we can ship them out to you guys without them getting damaged. I'm getting fantastic feedback on those diffusers. Everyone is loving them. It's one of those things where it's the last thing most people do, and then they realize when they put diffusers on the walls that it was the biggest single improvement in their system that they could have done when they go in and treat those walls. Suddenly, I'm getting feedback from customers. Oh my gosh, I have a soundstage now. Things are deeper, things are bigger, and they're more focused, and everything's clearer. And it's treat your room, treat your room, treat your room. I know we preach that all the time, but that's one of the biggest deals there is. And these diffusers that we've made, we're really selling them cheap for what they are. I mean, it costs a lot of money to have these things made, and we're not putting much markup on them. I originally just had a whole bunch made so I could do my room and then sell off the excess to my customers who need some. Well, they bought it all up in a hurry, so here we go again. And if you guys keep ordering these things from us, we'll just keep bringing some more of them in. So double thumbs up on the diffusers. Everybody's loving them. And if you don't have any on your wall, if you got bare walls, it's an inexpensive way to really make improvements. So give those a try. All right. New Brute woofers. As you guys know, I did an old school speaker called the Brute, which had this big 12-inch woofer in the bottom of it, this Acoustinator, which I know it looks puny because it has this high-powered Neo motor on it, but it's not. That's a lot of motor structure. And so we used that with an M130 and our T26 tweeter, and we did an old school speaker that has an old school look, but modern performance, man. High quality parts, measures really well, sounds really good. And we originally had about 70 or 80 woofers in stock, and I had Eminence make for us all of them that they could, all of them that they had materials for. They made us like 110 of them. Well, this quantity that we had of these things limited how many we can sell. We went through all of those in months. And so I had to contact Eminence and say, hey, we need a replacement woofer. We need a paper cone based version of this with a ceramic magnet and a vented pole piece. I need it to hit these same parameters. And they sent me some samples, and it turned out great. It actually did everything I want. Same frame, ceramic motor. I know it doesn't look like a whole lot, but I needed this to be an inexpensive woofer that met the parameters for what I'm using it for. I didn't need a super expensive woofer in there. This was ideal. It's only covering from 30 hertz or so, 28 to 30, up to about 150, 160 hertz. So I just needed a really good woofer. And so they matched the parameters of the Acoustinators pretty close and gave me that paper cone base woofer that I was wanting. I've dropped these in, and without making any changes to the crossover, it measured exactly the same almost. It was actually down in output about a dB to half a dB, maybe 3/4 of a dB. It's down, which actually is exactly what that model needed to smooth out the response. In every application that I've heard it in, it's had just a little bit of thump at the bottom, which a lot of people like that thump. A little bit of a rise there at the bottom before it starts falling. Everybody loves it, but I like a linear response, and I wanted it a little more linear, and now it is. Now it's flatter. I know Ron even did a video on the Brute and Bully, and talked about how the two sounded, and he did sound clips of each of them. And even in the sound clips, you could tell the Brute had a little bit of a bump at the bottom, which, again, sounded very cool, but wasn't quite as accurate. So I'm really happy that this one did exactly what I wanted it to. So now we're in the process of waiting for several hundred of these to be built. And as soon as we get these in stock, I will let you guys know. We'll do a whole new video on the Brute, relaunching that model and getting those out there. So I know all you guys who've been waiting for that model should be really excited. It's coming back. Now, power cables. We haven't been selling those power cables like hotcakes, but we've been moving power cables mostly just to our customers. And we've got 2 new reviews up on the B24 cable, and there's 2 new reviews of the B16 cable that are there on our website that you guys can check out. I don't get too many of these returns, so if you order one and you want to try it, and a lot of times I've recommended try it on your front end, try it on your DA converter, see what you think. And when that happens, I wind up getting more orders for more of those things. They wind up ordering them for everything else in their system because it made such a big difference. They've got to have that level of improvement on everything. So I get lots of reorders. I get very few returns on these things. Sometimes I get customers A-Bing them against other really high-end power cables, and sometimes it's a linear move. Sometimes it's just a matter of one's a little this way or that, and maybe they decide to keep the one they have and they return it, which is perfectly fine. We recommend you drop it into your system, burn it in, listen to it, and decide if you want to keep it or not. That's the best way to judge if it's doing it for you or if it's not. And that removes all doubt. So don't forget about the power cables. And the reason I bring up the power cables, we're launching Uber buses. And I'm about to drop it on the site, and we're about to shoot some videos on it. I'm going to shoot a whole new video on the Uber bus and talk about what it does. But it's basically a power conditioner, and it's really one of the best power conditioners on the market. It's designed in a way that it does power correction factor, it doesn't limit current, and it really makes an improvement in everything. It's going to be the accessory that everyone should have in their system. And I took one over to Ron's, and we hooked it up in the sound shed. We put one of my power cables on it, feeding it, and then we swapped out all the power cables that were in the system to my power cables. So we had all my power cables and the Uber bus. Wow. It's like we were already getting really good sound over at Ron's in the sound shed. He gets great sound, but this took everything up a notch, like big time. And it did all the things I was expecting. You know, it took away noise. Soundstage got bigger. There was more space between notes, more distance between instruments and things in the soundstage. Surprisingly, though, the vocal became more focused. The vocal was cleaner, and the bass response really changed. The bass response really tightened up, and it got more extended, and the output level in the bottom end actually came up some. And so we had to go in and turn the subwoofers down a couple of clicks to balance it back out because sensitivity actually increased. And that's one of the things that is noticed sometimes with the Uber buses is that if you leave everything at the exact same volume settings and then drop it into the system, because it's making all the power supplies and everything more efficient, sometimes that volume level comes up, and it definitely did in the bass. And I had B16 power cables, which are long power cables, on the subwoofer amps, which are 10 gauge cables. So it wasn't like all of a sudden it got a power reduction and removed from the path. I mean, what I'm trying to say is it wasn't like the old power cables were a restriction in any way. We left the same B16 cables on. It just got plugged right into the Uber bus, and that bottom end came right up. And not just up louder, but tighter, cleaner, faster. Wow. I can't wait to talk more about that. And like I said, I'm going to shoot a whole new video on the Uber buses. And then Ron and I are going to try some sound clips, and we're going to see just how much you can really hear in the sound clips. If you can hear half of what we're hearing live, it's going to be very impressive. And it's going to be hard to deny exactly what it's doing, because what it's doing is really apparent. And then once you hear it, you can't unhear it. You can't, and you don't want to take it out of the system. So that's coming. Also, I want to touch base on the interconnects. And we had a lot of our interconnects made. We worked on those for, man, it seemed like a year and a half or so, and getting that to where it sounded like we were wanting it to. And then we had all the different parts that we selected sent to another company and had them do the assembly work, because it's a lot of assembly work. And then when we get them in, we cryo the whole batch of those things. And so we cryo as many of them as we can, as what'll fit in the tank at a time. And we've been sending those out, not like hotcakes, but we've been sending them out. And we've only had a few come back. You know, there's a money back guarantee on those things. Sometimes in a system, there's customers who have interconnects at a level to where it might be a lateral move. But in most cases, it's not. I get a lot of people calling me freaked out, can't believe that it just transformed their system, and they order more of them. And I've had one return come back because it was too short, and he wanted a longer one. So not too many returns. So if you do order some, be prepared to keep it. It can be an investment when you start buying a lot of really high quality interconnects, but it's one of those things that once you drop it into the system and you give it time to settle in and burn in, and you start making comparisons, it's like it doesn't take long to make the comparison. You want it left in the system. So keep in mind those interconnects are doing really well, and also bring that up because there's 7 new reviews of those interconnects that are on our site. There's 7 reviews that are there. So you guys can go see what other customers are saying about the interconnects. Next thing I want to touch on, the NRD models that I'm doing with Ron. That's the new record day models that we've named the Alley and the Maddie. And we've been waiting on things all year to get produced, and I now have 100 pairs of cabinets in stock for the Alley. That's the small stand-mounted model. And I just assembled the crossovers for both models on the circuit boards that were sent for me to test. I'll let Ron throw up a little picture of the circuit boards and all the high-end parts that are on these things. And I had them do some tweaks to the circuit board, and now they're in production. And they're going to air freight to me enough for 100 pairs of the Alley, and that way we can get started getting the assembly done on that thing. And then the circuit boards for the Maddie model will come with the cabinets. Hopefully the cabinets for the 4-standing model that we call Maddie is about to ship. It's mid-September. They're going to be shipping out and headed our way. So a month from that, mid-October, those are going to be here. And also another holdup we've had on that is we've made a tweak to the LGK driver because there was a temperature sensitive adhesive that was being used, and so we've changed that, and we got more of those that are showing up, and they're going to finish production of those at first part of or mid part of October. They'll have those finished, and I'm going to have them air freight several boxes to us so that we can immediately begin assembly and let them send the rest via the ocean freight, because we'll have several thousand of those being sent to us. So that's what's going on with Alley and Maddie. And we're looking at late November to early December for a release date if everything goes well on those. So we're really excited about that. Can't wait to actually start getting those assembled and get them out there. I know our customers are going to just be blown away by what that speaker can do. They're doing things that I've never heard from any other speaker. So I'm excited for everyone to hear those too. Next, the last thing I want to touch on, we took an XLS Encore and hot rodded the crap out of it. I mean, we've redesigned the front baffle. We've swept the baffle away from the tweeter and away from the woofer. And we've had some test pieces made, and I'll throw up a few pictures of the test models. This changed the response of the speaker a little bit. It made the off axis extremely even because there's just not a flat surface there for it to reflect off of. It made it a little more transparent. Plus, we changed the crossover typology a little bit. We lowered the crossover point. We added a rear firing tweeter to it. We've got a new tweeter. It's a little similar tweeter, but it's with a little small neo magnet. We've got that little tweeter on the back, and we added a HARP device inside. So we've got a lot went into that. Plus, the wiring is treated by Shinyata Research K-PIP something treatment. You'll have to check it out on their site. So they've treated the wire. We've got a HARP device in there which diffuses and damps out the resonances within the wire or within the dielectric. And what it does is it really improves image focus. That on top of the rear tweeter that's on the back, and what it's doing to the spaciousness and the sound and the image focus and everything, just it's over the top. It's way over the top. And we've got several front baffles that we're going to be using on that same model. So we've got the same boxes being done, but you've got your choice of a maple front baffle, a rosewood front baffle, a walnut front baffle, or the carbon fiber wrapped front baffle, which you can see in the photos that Ron can throw up there. And they all look really, really good. And I've had that pair playing now for a couple of weeks. So we've got it all burned in, and they sound fantastic. And I think I can release these turnkey, ready to play for $2,500 a pair. And I'm going to go on a limb and say, I guarantee you there's not another speaker out there in that price point that's a stand-mounted speaker that will outperform them in any way. Like, they are that good. So it's not hyperbole. I'm not just pumping my own products. You just wait and see. I'm going to get these things built, and I'm going to send these out to any reviewer that has a real listening room. What I mean by a real listening room, I mean a listening room set up to where you can really hear things. Somebody with a treated room where they can get the speakers out in the room so they can hear what these can do. I'll send you some of them. And these are specific. They're an audiophile speaker. They're not a stand mount where you can put them next to the wall, against the wall, or a shelf mount. They're not for that. The rear firing tweeter makes you have to use them like a open baffle speaker. You have to get them 3 feet or more out into the room. So they're designed for that specific application. So I'm not going to send them to a reviewer that's going to only put them a foot off of a wall or 2 feet off a wall on a bare wall. They're not going to hear what the speaker is capable of doing. So don't even ask. If you've got a real listening room and you can allow them to reproduce what they've been designed to, then you will get it. And I'll send those things out there. But I think they're going to dominate that space. And I think they're going to dominate the stand-mounted market to a point. Until you get into these Ali and Maddie models, which are another level for several other reasons. You know, for time coherency and things like that. Those things are over the top. But this little Encore Extreme, I can let these go for a lower price point. And they are amazing. And I can't wait for all you guys to get to hear these things. So I'm going to shoot specific videos on most of this stuff that I've talked about and give you more specific updates on this stuff. We'll talk more about the Encore Extreme, and I'm gonna have some here I'm going to show you, and I'm going to hold up all the baffles and stuff and let you take a look at the baffles that we're going to offer. It's probably going to be late November or early part of December before the cabinets arrive. So I'm going to say we're going to roll this out right at the end of the year or at the beginning of next year when we launch the XLS Encore Extreme. So hang on for that. More updates coming, more videos coming. I will try to get more content out on a regular basis. Thank you for bearing with us, for bearing with me, and me not being able to produce a lot of content because I've been so busy. So hopefully this catches you guys up on a little bit of cool stuff coming up. And we'll see you guys in the next video.